Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And I'll just wait for a few folks to come on here. In the meantime, let me plug in my light. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Let me just see here what's going on with my light. There. Okay, good morning. Sorry I missed a few folks there. We're just doing a little bit of technical stuff. Good morning, everyone. And welcome back. Day off yesterday traveling, and good to have you on with us this morning. We appreciate it. Big time. Okay, and so I'm sorry, not going to do a roll call, I think, this morning because I missed too many people. Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow is question and answer Friday. Okay, so I just had a few technical difficulties. Be very patient with seniors. Be very patient. Okay. Now, what I want to do today, is pontificate on an article that was written that I just read actually in the last few days. Really enjoyed this article by Thomas Seyfried, a well-known scholar in cancer research and professor of biology at the Boston College. Okay, so he is well known. I've heard of his name before in cancer research, and let me just give you what he said. Okay, I'm gonna quote him. Okay, so the headline is this: cancer is not a genetic disease. Cancer is a metabolic disease. Okay? So that's the headline. He was being interviewed, and this is what he said. I'm quoting Thomas Seyfried, a well-known scholar in cancer research and professor of biology at Boston College. Here's what he said, quote, "Once people understand that cancer is a metabolic disease, then you will see a very big reduction in death and greatly improve quality of life and survival." Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Okay, so here he is saying cancer is not a genetic disease. Now, if you look at the history of cancer treatment, in the last 50 years, they've developed a little bit of a new therapy, okay, because everybody knows, okay, if you get cancer, like you could go door to door. Let's say you just want to do a survey, and you did a cancer survey, and they said, okay, if you get diagnosed with cancer in Canada or the United States, what is the treatment going to be? And the average person would tell you in very quickly that it's chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. The big three: chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Okay? And folks, the last 50, 60 years, that has been the treatment. They wait till you get cancer. They're into, medicine is into early detection, not prevention. Okay, so we've talked about that a lot. But what this fella is saying, a professor of biology, in this article, he says the reason that cancer is so prevalent, folks, we're not winning the war on cancer. I'm sorry, that might bother people, but we're not winning the war. People might be living a little longer with cancer, but we're not winning the war. And this professor of biology, which I agree with 1,000,000%, is saying, it's because we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Cancer has been it's a genetic disease. It's mutation of cancer cells. And he is saying that's not what causes it. It's a metabolic disease. And he talked completely different philosophy in terms of cancer. How do you get cancer? What feeds cancer? And it was interesting because I talked about this, I can't remember when I did this little drawing, but I did it because of statin drugs, okay? And statin drugs, as you well know, those are cholesterol-lowering medications, okay? But I did this little chart, and I'm going to say a few weeks ago, okay? But I just want to show it to you, okay? So you're seeing it. For those folks on a podcast later, I'm showing them a terrible drawing, because I drew it myself, of a cell, okay? I flunked art, folks. That side of my brain does not work at all. I can't even draw a stick man, okay? But I like visuals, so for me, I take out my little yellow pad, which I love writing my notes on, and if you can see it, I showed you the nucleus of a cell, and I'm showing you these little things here, the battery packs within the cells. What are they called? What are the battery? Do you remember this from your high school? What are battery packs called inside your cells? Muscle cells, bone cells, heart cells, you name it. What are they called? What are they called? Let me. Yeah, Wendy, you got it right. Mitochondria. Those are your battery packs. So what this professor is saying, very, very interesting. It's like a paradigm shift. Now, listen, I've been saying this for a long time, but to get medicine to say it, to get a top doggy like Professor Seyfried to say it and to explain it, and actually saying, look, this is the reason we're losing the war on cancer. Do you know, let me get some statistics from the American Cancer Society. I'll just give them to you. American Cancer Society says cancer rates are increasing, not declining. Cancer rates are decreasing, not declining. Every day in the United States of America, according to the American Cancer Society, 5,000 people a day are diagnosed with cancer in the US of A. 5,000. Okay? A day. Now, in my book, Metabolic Reset, I talked about the death rates of cancer. And there are 1,600 deaths every day, 365 days a year, 1,600 deaths a year from cancer in the United States. Every day. 5,000 diagnosed, 1,600 and change die. Now, if I ask you a question, everybody watching me this morning would say this: I know someone who died of cancer. Probably someone very close to you. We get so used to it. It's always, the C word is never any fun. It's a terrible diagnosis. But we haven't been treating it properly. And I'm glad some folks are saying it other than me. Because people think I'm crazy anyways. Right? It's genetics. No, it's not. It's not genetics. It's not in the nucleus of the cell. Okay? It's not. It's in the mitochondria of the cells. It's in the battery packs. And 100 years ago, there was a fellow by the name of Otto Warburg. Now, he was a different dude, okay? And if you go into his history, and I've read a lot about him, he was a different guy. Survived in Nazi Germany, even as a Jew. But he was a very smart man. And they sort of put up with him in Germany. But he had this theory of cancer. And he said this: cancer needs fuel. It is fueled by fermentation. You need glucose for cancer cells to grow. Hello. But again, wasn't popular. Got shoved aside. And radiation and chemotherapy became the norm of treatment, not diet. Diet, you know, it's always amazing to me, that, like, we got a big cancer hospital in Sudbury, in the town I live. They have a big cancer center there. And it's nothing for them. I remember when they used to have, I'm not kidding you, this is a true story. They used to give out, and the nurses who were good patients of mine used to give out Dr. Martin's perfect smoothie recipe to cancer patients until the oncologists found out, and then they dismissed it and they didn't want it. You know what they give? Oh, if you need a little bit of energy when you're taking cancer treatments, how about some Ensure? How about we boost? We'll give you some boost. So you'll get some protein and, ooh. You know what Ensure does? It's ensuring that your cancer grows. If you drink Boost, you're going to boost your cancer rates. Because they feed the mitochondria of those cancer cells. They charge up the batteries. And folks, if you don't believe that, I always bring you the PET scan. Not for your pets. The imaging for cancer. How does it work? Oh, they give you a cup of glucose, or they give you an IV of glucose before they put you in the machine, and then you light up like a Christmas tree. If you have cancer, from your head to your toes, it doesn't matter where it is, the glucose is going to go to the cancer. That's how the imaging works. Well, that ought to tell us something. Doesn't that tell us something? But it's almost like it's dismissed by mainstream medicine. What has sugar got to do with cancer? Has everything to do with cancer. Has everything to do with cancer. The key, my friend, is the mitochondria. Now listen, smoking, pollution, and inflammation, and viruses even, can damage the mitochondria. Free radical damage, oxidation can damage the mitochondria. My friend, you can't control everything in life, but you sure can control what you put in your mouth every day. Cancer prevention starts in the kitchen. Cancer prevention starts in the kitchen. And folks, let me just say this too, please. It ain't red meat that gives you cancer. I know there's a war going on. It's getting worse. The war is not getting better. The war is getting worse. And the younger generation is being taught from kindergarten, that red meat is no good for you. It's indoctrination. I feel sorry for children today. I really do, because they're being taught something that is completely false. Completely false. Because the fuel that your mitochondria in your cells need is the best fuel in the world, and that is, my friend, I'm sorry, it's eggs, meat, and cheese. If you want to avoid cancer. I mean, look, you're not going to necessarily avoid it completely, because you got pollution, you got xenoestrogens, you got chemicals. I mean, there's 100,000 new chemicals out there. I mean, you can't get away from it completely, but you can sure try and prevent things, can't you? I mean, this Thomas Seyfried, I mean, it's incredible. He's a cancer specialist, and he says, we got it all wrong. We've been wrong. We need to pivot, he says. In the article, he says we need to pivot. He says, I'm scrambling to teach my students in medical school. We need to pivot. We need to pivot, he says. We need to look at food, what you can control. And actually, he was at the head of a group, I think, and actually, let me just read the article here. This is another article that I looked up. A study in clinical nutrition that he oversaw with 80 patients with cancer and the ketogenic diet. Now, you know what that is, the ketogenic diet, where you're burning fat instead of glucose. And if you cut your carbs down to almost nothing, your body will change fuels. Now, I'm not so big necessarily on, what we call the keto, like the keto diet. The keto diet has a lot of junk in it too, okay? But anyways, for the purposes of this program today, in clinical, in the clinical nutrition journal, This study, overseen by Thomas Seyfried, he talks about how they put 80 patients on and tumors were shrinking. It was even more than he thought. He was excited about it. Okay? That's in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, a recent article. So, I'm not saying that only diet, but what I am saying is that's where you start in prevention, and even what Dr. Seyfried said. He said in treatment, that's where you start. Don't feed the bears. Don't feed those cancer cells. They're looking for fuel. The mitochondria, the little battery packs of those renegade cancer cells, are looking for fuel. Okay? So what can we do? Change fuels. Now, something too that another study that I looked at in terms of fuel is fasting. Now, at the Martin Clinic, we love intermittent fasting. Now, this study was looking at a 3-day fast where you only drink water and coffee. They didn't say coffee, but I'm telling you, you can drink coffee on a fast. Just don't put any sugar in it. Okay? Of course, you wouldn't want to put sugar in it if you're trying to fight cancer. Okay? So what are we saying? Intermittent fasting. There's several ways you can do it. Don't eat at night. And then if you don't have to eat in the morning, okay, the most important meal of the day is not breakfast, okay? That was brought to you by the cereal companies, okay? That's not your most important meal of the day. Maybe for a diabetic, they find their blood sugars and they need to eat. Well, that's all right. You can eat. But let's say you don't need to eat and you want to go even longer without food, have your coffee, of course. Drink your water, have your coffee, and maybe skip breakfast. And research is showing that intermittent fasting helps in the treatment of cancer. Why? You're not giving it any fuel. You're allowing your body. Okay? You're allowing your body, you're allowing the mitochondria to repair. Now, okay? Now, here's another thing. Part 2. In cancer is a metabolic disorder. It is not a genetic disorder. I'm just quoting the article. Here's what Seyfried said too. It was very interesting because he said, cancer needs fuel, right? So, glucose. You eat crappy carbs. Carbs are going to turn to sugars rapidly. He said that fuels cancer. That fuels cancer. Don't give it fuel. Okay, that's number 1. And we talked about that. Fasting, we talked about that. Okay? Here's something else he said. And I really found it interesting because he said this. Stress is a huge factor in cancer. in the proliferation of cancer. And again, he went into biology. What did he say? He said, what happens when you're under stress? Your blood sugars raise. Think of it. Okay? You might not know that that's what your body is doing, but do this. And do this for a long period of time. That elevates your blood sugar. It elevates inflammation. Remember, cortisol, the hormone, the stress hormone. It's fascinating what it does metabolically to you. It actually feeds cancer. Now we know that it also suppresses your immune system. Stress suppresses the immune system. Stress is like pouring gasoline on the fire of cancer. And guys, you know me. If you're just watching me for the first time today, I'm a big guy on cortisol. Because any research that I did, and you know, for me, my clinical research showed 30-something years ago that cortisol was a huge, huge factor on pouring gasoline on the fire of inflammation. And inflammation destroys blood vessels, cells, tissue. But inflammation's not Houdini. It comes from high circulating insulin and leaky gut, and 3, oxidative damage. Now, folks, you can take that to the bank, because the more they study cancer, and if they're honest about it, you get guys like Dr. Seyfried, who's saying, man, we need to shift our thinking. We're not winning the war. Hello? 5,000 Americans every day will get the diagnosis of cancer, and 1,600 people a day, every day, 365 days of the year will die of cancer. And guys, if we're just into detection, I'm not against detection. I'm not, please. I'm not against detecting cancer. What I'm saying is we have to take it a step backwards. We have to get to the root issue. Now, you remember this. They told us to stop smoking. You remember that. If you're too young, well, it started really in the 70s and maybe a little bit in the 60s. My dad quit smoking because of cancer. He said, well, I read an article back in the 1960s, 1962 to be specific for my father. He never smoked another cigarette in his life. And he used to give cigarettes to his patients if they had a cough. Here, cough more. Cigarettes are good for you. Honest to God. Okay, all I'm saying is there was a huge paradigm shift, wasn't there, on smoking? People got the memo. And they stopped smoking. You know what we need to do? We need to have another major memo to go out to the public and say, we need to change our diets, Our diets are killing us. That's what metabolic disease is. Metabolic. Not the nucleus of the cell. It's not genetics. It's the mitochondria of the cell. It's fuel. It's fuel. Guys, this is, it should be on every newscast in the mainstream media. Everybody should be learning about it just like they learned about smoking. When they got together and, all of the cancer societies and all of the medical personnel and all that, they all got the memo. Now, they didn't, not everybody listened. People today still smoke. Not like they used to, but they still do it. But it's not like they don't have, like anybody that smokes, they know. They know how bad that is. You don't have to tell them. People used to come into my office and they were smokers. Well, do I gotta tell you? Nah, they knew. Doc, I wish I could quit. What do you think carboholics are like? They're addicted. Not easy. But guys, this is key. This is so, when I read this article, you must understand that it blew my socks off, not because of I didn't know it, but because you get these doctors, cancer doctors who've been around for a long time and finally admitting, holy moly, we've been on the wrong track for a long time. You know how exciting that is for a guy like me? Even to read that? It pumps up my tires. It pumps my tires. Keep going. Keep being John the Baptist. Cry out, even if you feel you're alone. Excuse me, in the wilderness. Keep shouting from the mountaintops and the rooftops. It's a metabolic problem. So is heart disease. So is Alzheimer's. Where do you start? Start in the kitchen. That's where you start. Start in the kitchen. Change fuels. You guys understand that. That's why I always tell folks, my audience, they're the best in the world. I'll put up any podcast audience to my podcast audience. You guys are the best. You get it. Okay. You get it. Okay. Now, tomorrow's question and answer Friday. What are you doing about that? Send us your questions, okay? We love that. It's always fun. So we're looking forward to that program tomorrow, okay? And if you're a little bit of advertising, if you're not a member of our private Facebook group, sure, join up. Join up. We love that community, okay? Feels like my best friends are in there. We have so many good people and who communicate with each other. And, like I said, one of the biggest things I'd love to do is meet you all personally. Okay? Anywho, we do what we can. Okay, guys, we love you dearly. And we'll talk to you soon.